Welcome back to another Open Studio Hour. I'm Jaime Fisher. So today I was thinking that I am just going to be working on doing a character turnaround. Let's see. And so what I've done is I've gone through a bunch of my old sketchbooks, and these guys have gotten pretty beaten up over the years. You can see I have a whole bunch of different papers that I've just stuffed in here, and the pages are kind of crunchy now. But I have this character that I really love, and what I want to do is eventually make a maquette of him. And this is so I can study him more and actually eventually do an animation with him. And so a maquette is basically just a small sculpture, and a lot of animators use them made out of a character that they're going to be animating so that they can study them from different angles. It's really great to do if you want to do studies of anything, really, just sculpting something out of clay, and you can set it, do it from different, or move it around in different angles and change the lighting. It's wonderful. I think maquettes are great things to do. So before I even create my maquette, what I'm going to do is a character turnaround, and that's just drawing the character from different angles, usually front, back, side, and 3/4 view. As you can see here, I've done with a past character I was messing with, and also here practicing different expressions and never completely filled him out. But when drawing people for characters, there's no real standard set way to do different proportions and heights. A lot of people say that most people, humans, are 7 to 8 heads high. Very popular one is 6 heads high, and usually I do 6 heads high for my characters. But I really love odd proportions. I love lanky characters with large hands and feet. But this particular character, he's going to be about 5.5. He's hunched over. So this is the guy I'm going to be working with today, and so you guys can see just what I'm doing. I'm going to be using a softer pencil, so it'll show up a little bit more. I'll probably be going back and forth between 8B and 12B in the Cezanne graphite pencils here in my Soho sketchbook. Let's see. And because this is just a character I came up with way back, I'm not very familiar with him anymore, and I also haven't created a lot of details to him. A lot of him is unfinished. So I've just gotten some reference here. No part of any of these people I'm going to copy completely. I'm just using this as reference and noting different elements, such as how the cloth folds, maybe something like the jowl here, how that comes down. I have a large one over here in this character, very exaggerated features. So I'm just going to keep that up here to look at as I go, and then just start warming up. And usually to warm up, I've been sitting at my desk a lot today, is just start doing scribbles. Hey Paula. Hi Karen. Glad you guys are here.
sketch. He has so much personality just from that.
Yeah, that's it's actually one reason I really got into animation, was just how the characters, even in one drawing, were so expressive. And really, I think that comes from animators studying movement so much, so they do a lot of gesture drawing, which all of this relates back to fine art. Fine artists do gesture drawings all the time, and like just quick studies of movement. Just to do an example. Because then you can study how the body moves. And really, another thing that is great about gesture drawing is you can get the feeling and emotion of a person just from a silhouette. Hi, Mr. DC. Welcome. Great. Great, Karen. Hey, Brazen. Yeah, getting to draw better is really, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, practice. A lot of practice. I'm getting thumbs down on the other side of the camera.
In school.
Sorry, guys.
When I was in school for graphic design, we had to do like 45 thumbnails for like every homework, and I was like, I don't want to do it. But truly, like, some of the best stuff comes out after you've done the first 15 or 20, and you're like,
Yeah, that's...
You're right, but I hate it.
That's another reason why warming up is so good. Because a lot of times my first few drawings will just be terrible things. But if you do sketches and kind of get that out of your system, then you can go ahead and start building up and make something that's more finalized as you go. But if you start off just doing quick things, nothing that you feel committed to, then that lets you be free. You're not worried, and you get loosened up so that you can go into making something more final. Some of my favorite artists, I really love Winsor McCay. He was a comic artist, actually one of the first people to dabble with 2D animation, but I really love his style. Sometimes it is really hard to get practice in, especially these days. It's with so much going on. I completely understand, Paula. I wish I practiced more too, and this is what I do for a living, so take that as you will. It's everything these days is just so go. So now I'm just practicing drawing through, creating the top of the skull, which is the circle, and then coming down to create the boxier jaw shape. And now I'm just playing, making up characters for my warm-up. Hi, Marcia. No, this isn't a tutorial. This is our open studio hours, so this is something we do every other Thursday. And oh, sorry, first and third Thursday, excuse me, of each month. And we just have people, you guys, join us in the studio while we're working on projects, and you're welcome to ask any questions you want involving art, and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. If we can't answer them, then we will find somebody who can. But really, it's just a time for us all to hang out together and chill and listen to some chill music and enjoy art. Once you start drawing more, and I'm going to say this as a traditional pencil user, I do love mechanical pencils, but one thing you can do is start getting more graphite down on paper. And I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but I'm making several soft marks and creating shading, and then pulling out shapes that I see to create this face with darker strokes. And if you don't have anything in mind, that sometimes can really help. It's like looking at clouds. When you do that practice of just looking up at the sky and seeing clouds and going, well, what does that shape make? The same idea on paper. Oh, let's see. It's definitely not cheating to use reference for your images. It's only cheating if you completely copy, I believe, the image if it's somebody else's artwork. Because then the idea wasn't your own, and that's somebody else's property. But to use reference is basically just to give yourself a springboard. And also, it's also really good to have that visual, like I said when we were first starting, I'm using this as reference just to see how different folds react to different stress points that the body creates with the fabric, things like that. So really, it's having reference is a really good thing. And a lot of really great cartoonists are really great fine artists because you have to be good at actually translating the real world before you can create something that's exaggerated. And a lot of people think they can just jump straight into doing a great cartoon, but if you don't understand things like anatomy, then you're not gonna make a great animated character. That's one reason why Pixar and Disney characters stick with people so well, and they're so iconic. Let's see, a challenge that I want to overcome in my art. Well, that is a tough one. I feel like there's always a challenge to overcome. Just like with anybody, I feel like I get hung up on things. I'll fixate, I realize, very often if I can't get something the way that I want, and I have to learn to step back and not let myself get fixated on something. Like, you guys can probably relate. When I was drawing this guy, I couldn't figure out this shape in here, and I kept repeating it over and over again instead of just letting it go and starting to work on a different part of the piece. So I was spending too much time on one section, and I was just practicing him instead of going and starting elsewhere and getting more down. So just letting myself relax a little bit sometimes would be nice. That's true, Paolo, yeah. Hey, Tim. Okay, so for this guy, you can see I've covered him with this nightcap, but his head is still under here. So I just want to make sure that I keep with that in drawing him over here. And this guy right here, I'm also using as a reference, I said in the beginning, for like this jowl area. It's somewhat up here in the nose. Oh, yeah, Mr. DC. I write stories all the time. For me, since I have a love of animation, I've often referred to myself as a visual storyteller because that's what artists do. They tell stories with their artwork, whether it's a still image or you have several back-to-back creating that illusion of a moving image. You're still creating a story. My sketchbook, actually I can show you. I was going to say my sketchbooks and I have my sketchbook right here. My sketchbooks are full of stories. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is about 10 stories right here on 2 pages. Very tiny print. but I write down ideas, and sometimes before drawing, I will do that same thing. I will write so that I can get something down in my head that I might want to create on paper. I didn't like how his gel came out so much over here in this one, so I'm bringing it up. I want his ear to be more exaggerated too. Yeah, brazen. I don't feel like you're cheating. That's actually a very good thing to do. The more you do that, then the better you will be at drawing things without photos. That definitely doesn't make you an imposter or a cheater. Let's see. So his eyes would be here. Now I want to change something about his nightcap as well. I want to give it more of an edge. It's going to fall over his nose here. Hey Robin, I have used grids. They can be very useful. I don't now. I actually do something that works for me where, and this might sound a little bit odd, I create dots on my paper, and it's like using your pen or brush and holding up to whatever you're looking at, and I will look at the distance of something and create two dots, and that space then I will start to compare to the distance between different things on my picture. So if I were looking at a hand and the different digits, from here to here would be two dots, and then I would be scaling that on my page. So I noticed that this, between these two joints, is shorter, and create another dot and go from there. So actually a lot of times I end up with lots of different dots on my paper and then start doing my sketch. And that's just something that I've developed over time as how I enjoy going about things.
That sounds better than grids, honestly.
Yeah.
That sounds better than grids.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well everybody start doing that.
Yeah.
It may also just be because as much as I feel accomplished with things like drafting, I do not particularly like doing geometric things. So I really like doing organic, and by doing dots it lets me get to doing what I want to do faster, whereas if I'm doing a grid, I'm drawing out the grid. And so then I don't get as much fun time to draw. Let's see. I'm gonna make this Adam apple stick out a little bit more. Oh yeah, history is a great place to get ideas from. And interestingly, I mean, if you look around, you mentioned locations and things like that. If you just look around, like at the architecture, even that can be inspiring. Like if you even look at the banks, they're inspired by Greek and Roman architecture. And so once you start thinking about that, how big an impact these different cultures have had on things that we see, past cultures, things that we've seen and or see commonly in everyday life, that's pretty inspiring. So I'm working on him from the side. I think I want him to have a collar. And again, drawing through, his spine would be coming back here. And this is sort of the midway to the body. His hips would be jutting forward. I'm trying to decide if I like his pants. I think I still like the odd cuff thing with the stripy socks. I'll stick with that. His calf in there. Hey Ben Girly, I am on Instagram right now, but I am not currently active. I have one started, but there's nothing on it. However, once I start posting, then I will let everybody know and you guys can follow. Right now I have one up so that I can follow other artists and kind of keep up with the world. I'm in the studio so much that I kind of need that as my window to the outside. So there's the back ball of his foot. I'm gonna bring his slipper in back here. I said I liked characters with big feet, and I didn't give him big feet here, but I want to over here. I'm gonna bring the toe up high. And all of this is just created with simple shapes. This is basically a triangle right there. And I'm just pulling out what I want from that shape and carving. It's kind of like sculpting. And as I'm drawing, you'll notice that those darker lines come forward. And that's something you want to think about in any drawing that you're doing is your line weight. Because you can have a simple line drawing and it'll have a lot of depth to it depending on your different strokes. I think I liked how it kind of went over his belly. Oh, thank you, Marcia. I'm glad I put on lotion then. So we're starting to get a little dry, so I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. Let's switch over to 8B. There's his upper arm. And here he just has a straight sleeve. But I think I want it to poof out some and then have a cuff at the wrist. Now I'm gonna give him a collar. Because I like the front line of buttoned up shirts for characters. It's something about that central line that's really nice for me. I'm gonna make his socks just a little slouchy. And straight. And a lot of times what I do is I probably look like a crazy person when I'm drawing, but when I'm trying to imagine a character's pose and I don't have reference for that exact pose, I will sit there and act it out myself and try to figure out how it would look if I had that character's features and moved in a certain way. So I was just trying to imagine the side of his hand, if I wanted it from the side or facing the viewer. Let's see. And I think I want it doing this. And there's this first joint.
I was watching some documentary on animation and stuff, and there was a famous animation studio, and I'm sure all of them have it, but they like have this specialized room with like cameras and stuff for their animators to go and like walk or like get video of themselves doing what they want to do, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really cool.
It's actually a lot of fun being around a bunch of other animators while you're working, because that's what you do, is you basically, you're the actor because your character can't do its stuff on its own. So if your character is animated poorly, like there's not a lot of emotion there or something, then you might be a bad actor. But so when you're in a group with a bunch of other animators, it's a lot of fun because you just stand around in mirrors and things and study. And actually that was one thing that was very difficult starting out was learning to film myself, because I didn't want to look at myself being, you know, weird and crazy. But then I learned,
slouchy walk or
yeah. But then I realized that that was a lot of fun, and then just started acting like that in real life, and here I am now. And everybody else has to deal with me. I don't.
I had a vision of you just now in like a full mocap suit with all the little tennis ball or ping pong balls for the.
Those are. I have always wanted to do those. I have been to conferences and watched people in them, but I have not had the chance to play with one. His nightcap is coming down here now.
Have you named this man? You know I love a named word.
Yeah. No, I haven't named him yet. I've gone back and looked at him several times in the past. But he does need a name. So, if somebody wants to name him.
Ernest.
Ernest?
You know I always go for Eustace.
Yes.
I mean, I could see Ernest or Eustace.
Eustace just makes me think of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh.
I love it.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does kind of remind me of him a little. Is he as grumpy as Eustace?
Yeah, gives
Yes.
grumpy vibes,
Yeah.
this one.
He is very grumpy.
You can just be Grumpelstiltskin.
Grumpelstiltskin. I like that.
I love his long nightcap. I think that's so fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how practical it is.
I would trip on it.
Yeah. But he doesn't move fast, so...
What color do you envision the nightcap?
That's a good question, too.
I mean, I kind of get like mossy vibes for the rest of him, like
Mossy?
greens and browns, but like I feel like you could really,
Purple.
yeah, like purple or
Purple.
like.
The purple would look good with the greens.
Did we just make him the old Joker?
Maybe.
He's aged a little. Alright. I think where we've gotten him to. Okay. So now that I have my newly adjusted character, I'm trying to start working on creating the turnaround. Oh, come back, pencil. Okay, I'll go to my 5B. Let's see. Okay, so let's see if I make his head about there. And I said he was about 5.5 heads tall. His head's going to be about 3 centimeters. I'm just going to be making that length and 5.5 more heads down here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And these lines are going to be very light, and they just help me when I'm creating the character in different poses to make sure that the anatomy is in the same place with each drawing.
So you making a grid now? After we just talked crap about grids.
Hey. Don't call me out. No, this isn't technically a grid. These are just some lines going.
Okay, so you're just doing mine.
Yeah, these are just.
It reminds me of the police lineup. How they have, like,
Yeah.
This is how tall the person is.
It's exactly like that. So when you're doing character turnarounds, you're basically creating a police lineup for your.
Just of the same person.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God. Okay. Sorry. Sorry guys, the studio's falling apart around us. Okay, so
Just in case our lo-fi sounds were lulling people.
now you're awake. See, so his head needs to come down more.
About 15 minutes.
Okay. His arms are very long and lanky, and I had his hand come down about mid-thigh. So when I start doing my character turnarounds, I do just a rough, and then once I get all of all the angles in that I want, then I go back in and add the details. So what I've done is I've created roughly this guy over here. And now I'm going to start working on his front view.
I just really like that the paunch is like a defining thing. Like that's I know it's part of the outline and definitely necessary, but it makes me laugh.
This is part of what makes him him. Let's see, his shoulders come here. You can see, even though I've created these defining lines here that are my definite go-tos, I'm still pulling over a little bit from different parts, such as where his hunch in his back is, the top of his shoulder over here, to still help line up a little bit more accurately. And his rib cage is in there somewhere, so mark that. The top of his belly, I made it a little too high. Bring it down some. Yeah, my sketchbook definitely has an old sound to it when flipping through it. Let's see. Yeah, his shirt was about there. And I always do a little drawn through balls to indicate joints, important joints, the knees, elbows. Not saying that all joints aren't important, just the major ones. Yeah, for helping me kind of carve out my character. His foot, actually, if we look over here, even things like that are important to get down when you're doing a turnaround of a character, such as where the edge of his foot lines up in relation to where his belly ends. Just a little bit in front of the belly. His calves here, so that cuff is roughly in here. Now I'm going to try to envision the back here, which involves a lot more of kind of deciding what his nightcap does. I think it's going to bulk out there. Top of his shoulders, and again finding his rib cage in there. And pulling across again, getting the backs of his knees. It's funny that you say that. All of my stories actually usually do have some sort of magic element to them, and anytime I ever thought of him, there was always something mystical going on there. There's some story about him going to bed and something happening, but I never got that story out. But there is definitely something going on with him. And I said I like that front line. Pull the back down a little bit more. My thought process, as in what I'm working on, like specifically right now, going back and doing details.
No, she's talking about his what you just talked about with the realistic basis and all of that.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I answered everything as best as I
It
can.
seems that they and I were typing at the same time, so she was finishing the thought and I had answered Paolo.
Oh, okay. That up to a point, I think.
Got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. So this is a pretty good start to my turnarounds, and then from here, what I can do is when I decide to start my maquette, my 3D version, clay model of this guy, I already have all these different views, and it will really help me to get a better feel of this character in 3D space, and I won't be struggling to create him as a 3D character as much as if I was just going from, say, this sketch and trying to envision what he looked like from the front or the back, because I already have it drawn out to use as my own reference. So this is basically creating more reference for yourself, which you know, was brought up earlier in chat is using reference cheating. Well, no, because you create your own reference as well. So it's all really dependent on the situation and just what you are doing with your reference. Oh, now I'm gonna have peanut butter jelly time stuck in my head. Thank you, Mr. DC. Designing his physique, what I was thinking when designing his physique, I was imagining somebody very tired who was living in a world that was a little bit more whimsical and mystical than just everyday what we experience. And so actually when I was drawing him, I was doing a lot of hunching over myself and then just imagining what the wear and tear of life and sort of a more whimsical, slightly off world might be. Whatever magical things happen in this world, they're probably really strange and really wear on your body, contorted in weird ways as you age. Peanut butter jelly time. Okay. And again, I've done a lot of drawing through, and a lot of times that scares people. But really, it's the best way to get accuracy in your drawings. And you're just going to go back and get rid of them, erase them. And this is something I would normally do after inking, but I'm just doing this to show a little bit more of how he's actually pretty near complete. It's getting rid of those cross lines too in there that I've drawn to help me line up the different character positions.
We are out of time.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep working on this guy and eventually get him to a place where I can make a maquette from him. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you join us for the next Open Studio Hour. Bye.